Dr. Ott, you mentioned that there's a difference between pornography and online sexually explicit material. Can you parse out that difference for us and why it matters?
So, sexuality educators are the ones who have sort of promoted the difference in language between pornography and sexually explicit material. And they've done that for a very specific reason. One, or a couple of reasons, I should say, to push back against the pornography industry, which has been shifting as more people have access to the ability to create their own pornography, giving like the actors and things more control. So I do talk a bit about that in Sex, Tech, and Faith from an adult perspective. From a sexuality education perspective, the reason to do that is because there are many harms in pornography, right? It can, like much of our mass media, display overly stereotypical views around gender, around orientation, around race, around ableism. And so the classic definition of pornography is one that the materials are 100% only for entertainment, often include exploitative kind of activities, and oftentimes are fake, meaning they're not showing, they're using camera angles and things like that, which don't teach you the right things. They actually set you up for failure in your thinking of what sexuality or sexual behaviors might be like. And then there is sexually explicit materials, which sexuality educators refer to that way because they are used for education. They're used for teaching. They're used for ways in which perhaps a couple or an individual might learn for themselves or learn together. And those kinds of materials also, um, you know, the educational industry tries to make sure that they are not ableist, that they're not racist, that they're not promoting, gendered sexism or heterosexism, and that they're actually depicting things in a real manner. So the difference here might be something like, the free kind of things that a young person can just look at by searching on Google, right? Which is true. It can happen. Kids have access to this in a multiple venues and devices that they can access. So let's not pretend that that's not true. Let's help them think about what that material is. What is it actually teaching you or not teaching you? And might we think about actually giving them sites that provide information that's accurate? So some people might be comfortable, some people might not be. But there is a site called Make Love Not Porn, and it's meant to be, I guess, our version of fair trade, right? People are compensated fairly. It's all real people. You have to, there's no camera angles. It has to meet the standards of not being racist, heterosexist, ableist. Um, so, that shows you a complete difference in the industry of how things have shifted when we talk about sexually explicit materials. But there's also websites like Sex Etc., which are run by teens, are overseen by Rutgers University professors. It's a peer-to-peer site where they give accurate, age-appropriate, youth-based information, and kids can find out real, reliable information instead of just Googling it. And so I think that difference between pornography and sexually explicit materials is really important as we think about education.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important as we talk with young people so that we are not leaving them literally to their own devices to just find information, but we're curating it in a really helpful, reliable way.
Yeah. Yeah, if churches are one of the last safe and brave spaces for young people, what a gift that this is something we could give and offer, as opposed to shying away from the conversation entirely, which does leave youth to their own devices and is less tended to in that way, especially as you said before in a previous clip, when people fail, right? When these young people fail and it's so new and such a painful experience, what a gift to have a community and a trusted space for that to be hashed out. So, yeah, thank you.